sinners, and saints. Dust off those horns and halos. It's time for Alan After Dark.
So I'm sitting at the bar watching this football game, trying to focus on the college football players in the white pants, seeing the outlines of their jock straps, not really paying attention to anything else because it was quite nice to look at. And then I hear this burly voice beside me say, "Why don't you stick this up your ass?"
I'm sorry, what?
I look over and he's got his hard dick out.
Oh my God.
I give it a look and then look up at him and look back down at it. And I simply reply, no thanks. I've got a date with a fire hydrant later. That was on a New Year's Eve some time ago. I can't remember what year. Obviously, if I was just sitting there watching a ball game, it wasn't a very fun New Year's Eve. I should be in a back room or in a stall sucking dick, but no, I have Mr. Hotshot Bagash beside me, acting like he's Tarzan, king of the jungle, swinging that little bitty tic-tac of a pecker at me, thinking that I'm going to just... it would have been like sitting on a suppository.
That's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I don't think I would have even felt anything. I guess maybe he had enough tequila to finally grow some balls, even though he didn't really physically have balls. I'm referring to metaphysical balls. Anyway, I should not be criticizing someone's genitalia, the size thereof, but goddamn, if you're going to throw it at me like that, you better be able to back that shit up, Because this ain't no amateur on this side. I might be watching a college football game, but this bitch is all pro. Normally, I wouldn't be that big of a bitch when it comes to the size of someone's penis, but you know what? He deserved it. I think sometimes you have to knock these arrogant assholes down a few notches. Bring them back down to earth a little bit. And that's what I did. I guess we're going to call this the New Year's episode, but I can't even give two shits about New Year's Eve. I don't really go out and stay out to midnight anymore. I don't find the coming year to be anything worth celebrating. I'm more excited about happy hour this evening, and I cannot wait. Wamba lamba ding dong. Yes, I'm crazy already. That's how excited I am about happy hour. I am in a sort of festive mood, but I guess it's because during the holidays, it is quite easier to get dick. I don't know if you all have noticed that before over the years in your life, but it just seems like more guys really want to get dick down during the holidays, whether they're with someone or not, whether they're hetero or not. I think I just said that backwards, didn't I? Who gives a fuck, right? This is where your party starts, and hopefully it's where it ends. 45 years from now. Who am I kidding? I'm not living another 45 years. You all know that too, right? Happy New Year, sinners and saints, bitches and taints, lovers, scorners, assholes, bastards, all the above. I hope you're having a fabulous day. I hope you're feeling sexy. I hope you're looking good. I hope you're feeling pussy and dicky and wicky and nicky and licky. What other icky could I say? Oh, I just did. Icky, right? Ah, shit. This may be the wildest non-New Year's Eve podcast episode in the history of mankind, because I really don't want to talk about anything too serious. And you all know me. The podcast goes where the podcast goes. I am just feeling all kinds of weirdness outside of all this extra energy I have in anticipation for happy hour. I hope that this fun-filled few minutes helps improve your day too. Wow, that was a reach there, wasn't it? Jesus, Alan, God, get with it here. Where's my weed? Where's my drink? You didn't hear that part, right? Okay. Don't tell anybody I just said that, okay? I think in Tennessee, they're changing the law so that the amount of quote-unquote herb that you can consume has been reduced. They're just trying to fuck with us again. Anything that we enjoy, the Republican government of Tennessee will try to take it away. So fuck them. Fuck them now. Fuck them in 2025. Fuck them forever. Oh, God, I don't want this to be political. I want this to be about dick and ass and jockstraps and Henry Cavill and that hot straight guy that I bumped into on the bridge between the parking garage and the office. Oh, Lord have mercy. That was a very impressive dangling participle, if you know what I mean. I use that phrase because the books he had in his hand implied that he was majoring in English literature or something like that. So now you make the connection, right? Okay, good. But it was still dangling pretty good in those gray sweatpants. Jesus Christ, hit me. Oh, by the way, I hope you had a great Christmas or Krampus or whatever you had for that holiday that just passed, Boxing Day, Christmas, Hanukkah, etc. I hope you had a blast. I hope it was great. I hope you got everything you want. I just wanted dick, and I really didn't get that. So forgive me on all that mumbo jumbo there. Where are we going? Who's driving this car? Jesus. My God, I've got to tell you about what happened at the grocery store and the Mohawk Man. Now, for all our new listeners, the Mohawk Man is a man who works at my grocery store. He obviously has a mohawk, and when he shaves the sides of his head to make the mohawk more impressive, you see that the side of his head is tattooed. He has dark hair. He has facial hair. He has a swimmer's build as far as his body goes. Well, this week, I didn't even realize he would be on the aisle that I was going to go down. And I come around from one aisle to the next, and there he is. I just kind of froze, and thankfully he didn't notice my surprised reaction. But I kind of just stood there and pretended to look at a few things on the shelf, but my eyes were focused right on him. For some reason, he didn't have his little step ladder, so he was stalking the top shelf, and he was reaching up. Well, when he reached up, his shirt came up, and I could see his stomach. Flat, beautiful, just slight hints of hair. And I just about creamed right there. Then he had the audacity to then get on his knees to put some things on the bottom shelf. And when he did that and he bent over, his shirt came up and his underwear peeked out from his pants. And that broke me into pieces. I wanted to live a porn movie's fantasy right there. If I had the gumption and the ability to defend myself from a ferocious attack by multiple people, I would have just grabbed him and went down on him right there. Do some dick sucking and ass eating at the same time, Jesus.
Tickle, tickle, tickle.
He is just this guy who pushes all my buttons. And all he is doing is his job. Just watching him do his job turns me the fuck on. So finally I had to move on because it was becoming so obvious. I finally went past him and tried to inhale his musk and decided to do a full loop around and do another look. And without thinking, I turned into the bread aisle, and there was my bread guy. Down on his knees, and his shirt was slipping up, and I could see his underwear. And it just had me, wow, I got Christmas presents after Christmas. I couldn't ask for anything more but maybe a three-way with them turning me inside out, or me turning them inside out. Could you imagine what the reaction of people would be if I dropped my pants and bent over in front of the Mohawk Man right there in the grocery store? Jesus, I don't think it would be that bad, but, well, I guess it could be. I'm not the prettiest person in the world, so it could be a true horror on aisle 13. Full confession, though, today when I saw him, it was a little bit different. Today, it wasn't just attraction. It was lust. I had this stirring in my body. I wanted him. I mean, I really wanted him. Just one little bite of that forbidden fruit would have sent me into the stratosphere. I actually started questioning myself why it felt so different today. And of course, men are pigs. And it could be just the fact that I've gone without for quite a while now, and it was just the right time, and seeing him and his stomach and the peaks of his underwear and him on his knees. I guess I was just your stereotypical pig man at that moment, just wanting lust in the dust. But he has that musk that makes my junk want to spunk. Sorry, I can't take credit for that. That's from the show Big Mouth. You better be watching that, by the way. It's hilarious and dirty. I just realized that it's been a while since we've taken a trip back in time to my hilarious and pathetic past. And since I don't want this episode to be too heavy, just sexy and funny, why don't we take a trip back in time to events in my life that I believe are hilarious. Most people would refer to the area they live as their neighborhood or something like that. But when you're from the South, like I am, we lived back in the holler. Holler is a phrase that would define a neighborhood, usually one road that goes through several miles or just a little distance. Sometimes it goes through to another area, or sometimes it can come to a dead end. And when I was growing up, the holler that we lived in, it was mostly my family that lived in that area. There were some people that weren't related to us that lived there, but it was mostly my mom's brothers and sisters. My aunt she was in the hospital giving birth to her second or third child. I'm not sure which one. I was about 17 and I had my driver's license. When she was in the hospital, my mom asked me to drive up to their house, which was farther down in the holler, and to feed her dog. Now, her dog was a German Shepherd, and his name was Sam. Sam was very old, and when I went up to feed him, I knew where my aunt hid her key so I could get into the house to get the dog food. Oh, I should say, Sam was basically an outdoor dog. That's something that happens a lot in the country, in the South. Usually the dogs will have a better doghouse than you would a bedroom, and he usually stayed on the front porch. But anyway, I drive up and I pull up into the front of the house, and I see him there on the porch, and he's asleep. I'm like, okay, well, he's right there. He didn't wake up when I pulled up. So I go in and get the dog food. I come out and notice that he's laying there still, not moved one bit, asleep. Well, I fill his dog dish and I refill his water dish, and I go over and I'm like, Sam, I got you some food and some water. Sam, hey, Sam. And he's just not moving. And I'm like, oh no. I'm almost afraid to reach out and touch him because I don't want him to be startled. But I do. I reach down and I poke him with my finger, touch his head. Sam! Oh my God. He's dead. What am I supposed to do? I just try one more time and I give up and go home. And my mom calls later on. She's staying at the hospital with her sister, my aunt. She just calls to check in on what's going on at the house and everything, while my dad's at work and we're on summer vacations. I just say, Mom, Sam's dead. She's like, what? I'm like, Sam's dead. I tried to wake him. I thought he was asleep, but he didn't move. He's dead. And my mom's like, oh, he's not dead. I'm like, Mom, I know dead. She's like, no, he's really old and he sleeps very, very deeply. I promise you he's not dead. I'm like, Mom, I poked him with my finger. I called his name over and over. He didn't move. He's dead. And she said, well, I don't care. You're going back up there tomorrow and you're going to check on his food and his water. Understood? And I'm like, yes, I'll go back up. Well, I go back up the next day, and I swear to God, that dog is running around in the front yard. I have never thought a dog could sleep that deeply. And I actually, for a second, was actually jealous. I'm like, damn, I wish I could sleep like that. But I could have sworn he was dead. But also, you can imagine my relief. The dog was still alive, and I wasn't going to be the one to be blamed for being the one who may have been responsible somehow for this dog dying. Now, in the South, we tend to go shopping on Saturdays. Monday through Friday, you're working all week or you're at school. Sundays for church. So Saturday's when you do your shopping. And my mom, Lord have mercy, she would drag us to town all the damn time. When we were little, we hardly ever got to see cartoons because we were dragged to town. I was always jealous of some of my schoolmates because they would be talking about cartoons they had seen on Saturday morning, and we didn't get to see them. Anyway, one of the big stops was Kmart. And I know a lot of you don't even remember Kmart, but Kmart was around before Walmart, and I actually liked Kmart. They had the best toys and everything. But in the spring and summer, Kmart used to have sort of like their garden center. They would have like fruit trees and things that you could buy, and they would display them at the front of the store outside on the sidewalk. And it was just a normal thing. I mean, even supermarkets did that. You could buy fruit trees and things like that almost anywhere. So this one particular Saturday, I guess I'm about 10, maybe 11 years old. I was not really paying attention as we were walking into the store, and I had turned to look at my brother or something. And when I turned back, one of the limbs of one of those fruit trees went right up my nose. You can picture my embarrassment right off the bat, walking into the tree limb that went up my nose, like it was searching for boogers up in there. Well, I pulled away, turned away from the tree and get it out of my nose, and we go on into the store. Nobody else, my mom, my aunt, nobody seemed to be paying attention to what happened. And I was a little bit relieved at that they didn't see me get a tree limb up my nose. Well, when we walk into the store, now remember, I'm just a kid, and there were people that were looking at me funny. What are they looking at me like that for? And all of a sudden, though, I felt something oozing. And I'm like, is my nose running? Have I got snot coming out? And I put my finger to my nose and pulled it away and saw the big stain of red. So that tree limb that went up my nose busted my nose, and now I have a nosebleed. Well, I panicked. So I'm in Kmart, and the first department that you come into at a Kmart was the clothing areas. I didn't even think. I just walked over to the rack and put my nose to one of the shirts that was on the rack to wipe my nose. I did, yes, I did. And I walked away. Thankfully, there wasn't DNA testing back then, because they would have probably had me arrested for damaging a shirt with blood. That's a health issue too, right? But thankfully, I got to my mom and she saw that my nose was bleeding. I didn't mention the fact that I had wiped my nose on merchandise, but she had Kleenex, of course, in her purse, and she gives me one and shoves it in my nose and then tells me to go to the men's room and see if I can wipe it clean, wash it, and get a paper towel or something. And finally, it stopped bleeding. But I often wonder if somebody went to purchase that shirt and didn't notice the splot of blood until they got home, or did they see it and think it was a fashion statement? Oh, this is a very unusual design for a shirt. Nah. Hopefully somebody saw it and they took it off the rack and it's all good and well. At least I hope. This next story, I may have told this one before, I'm not sure, but it's worth telling again. As I've told you all before, and you know this if you've listened to the podcast for a while, we were not only from the South, but we were farm people as well. My grandfather ran a very large farm, even though he worked for the federal government as well. The adjoining farms, you had huge pastures and fields where your cattle grazed and other livestock could roam around. Well, we had these large swaths of blackberries. There were patches of blackberries everywhere that grew wild, and usually farmers would allow other families to come on their property to pick blackberries. The next door farmer, he would always tell us, I'm moving my cattle to a different field so that field will be open and you can pick berries. So that's what we would do. My grandmother, she sends us all out to the field to start picking blackberries. She had confirmed with the other farmer that he had moved the cattle to a different field. And so off we go. I don't know if you've ever done that, but it can be back-breaking work, but it's also kind of fun. You can eat as much as you pick, as long as your grandmother doesn't see a stain on your face. So anyway, we're spread out, about 6 or 7 of us, mostly the grandkids, and I'm just picking away. And I'm at the edge of the blackberry patch that's near the barbed wire fences. I'm just picking away, not listening much to anything. All of a sudden, I hear this sound, like a distant rumble, almost like thunder. And it seems to be getting louder very, very quickly. Then I hear my cousin yell, "Bull!" I didn't even bother to look back. I threw my basket up in the air and I went running toward the barbed wire fencing. And I could hear the galloping hooves getting louder. And I just dove over the top string of barbed wire, flipping over on the other side. When I roll over and turn to look, there he is, Mr. Bull, snarling like a bitch, staring at me, disgusted that I got away. I'm lucky that I wasn't gored to death. And for what? Blackberries. So my grandmother could make blackberry cobbler, which was good, but not worth dying for. Just saying. You know, when I think about it, just telling you those 3 stories, it would sound like nature has something against me, right? Animals and plant life, tree life, but maybe it's just Mother Nature altogether. I think what an appropriate way to ring in the year 2025 with a bad case of COVID. Isn't that just like the karma that I have? Go figure. As I sit here talking to all of you with a blinding headache, a runny nose, congestion, body aches, chills, night sweats, etc. Oh, I don't think there's any more appropriate way for me to ring in the new year than with this illness.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for joining me for this New Year's edition of Alan After Dark. I hope you've had some fun and been entertained and are enjoying the last few days of 2024. Remember, take life by the balls and be real. We'll see you soon.